It's bad out here.
The grace is sufficient.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah. So when we call you a children rights advocate,
yes,
what exactly are we talking about?
All right, thank you very much. So my name is Collins Orono, as you've said. My background is in media. I studied journalism and media and communication. But now, as I continued to, I got into practice, I started reporting children's stories. I started doing things to do with children. I've covered stories around female genital mutilation. I've covered stories about child protection issues and all that. Then on the way, I thought like I had a passion to speak for children, to be able to voice, the voices of children through use of media, and basically giving children a platform to be able to speak up and share some of the things that they need to be done, and also just to amplify their voices. So that is how I got myself into Mtoto News. It's a digital platform that empowers children to speak using the power of media.
Right.
And also just empowering children to be able to speak up about the issues that affect them, issues that affect other children. So that is a space that I am in. But I think for about the last about 4 years, I've been very happy being able to speak for children, being able to amplify the voices of children, and also being able to simplify things like the rights of children, so that children can also understand, and also so that parents can understand that by allowing children to know their rights, we are not inciting children against their parents and against anybody that is above them, because that is a perception.
I like that you brought it out, actually,
Yes.
because that exactly is a perception.
Yes.
When a child begins to say, I know my right,
Yes.
the parent, rises in defense.
Yes.
Because what do you mean? I'm your mother. How can you tell me you know your rights?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but people forget that, a child has a right, and actually the current constitution and the Children's Act 2022 gives children a lot of power. And it's actually big on parental responsibility, like parents taking responsibility on their children, as well as allowing their children to develop holistically. Holistically, I mean, if I tell you today that, the Children's Act is actually very explicit on the rights of children to picket, right of children to demonstrate, and rights of children to participate in any activities whenever they are aggrieved as children, or whenever their rights are gone against. Or so
That's interesting.
It's a very interesting thing. It's actually Article 28. If you have access to it as a parent, you can go read it. Article 28. It's very speaks about child participation, the right of children to participate on issues that affect them. So
sorry, just to cut you short a little, I'm
yes.
just wondering, on that right,
Yes.
is it in a home setup? Is it in a, what exactly is the setup for this?
It's actually anywhere, but it depends with the circumstances.
Okay.
Just the same way I said, there's been skepticism, like people thinking like by children knowing their rights is actually automatically enticing children against them. But or inciting children. But what I say is, let me tell you, you won't be there with that child forever. They will reach a point when they will need to be in another space where you might not be there. And I always tell parents, you are not without your child every time. They will be there with you. They will go to school. They will go to other spaces. They will mingle with people. They will meet new people. So by empowering your children to know what is their right, you're basically empowering them to be better people, and you're empowering them to be people who will be responsible, not just at home but also out there, where they can protect themselves against like any other forms of perhaps violence and all that, or not just protecting by themselves but just being enlightened. Okay.
Right.
So I want to speak about, there are 4 key rights of children that, are actually in our constitution, and they are very explicit. Not just the constitution, but it's enshrined in the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child, and also in the Africa Union. It's called ACEWRC. It's also a convention on the rights of the child, but based on the African Union. I think I'll speak about that later on.
All right.
So there's a right of a child to survival, where it's, as a parent, you're mandated to ensure that, that child, when a child is born, that's why when a child is born, they're entitled to have a citizenship.
All right.
So it's their right. Yes. So every child has a right to have a birth certificate so that they can get a sense of belonging. So that is, by doing that, you're basically giving that child their right, or you're allowing them to exercise their right to survival, and to have a sense of belonging, like to feel like, they belong to a country.
Yes.
They belong to a place. They belong to a space. The second right is the right of the child to protection. Right of the child to protection, basically, it's just protecting children from, all forms of violence. And that's why we have, a Department of Social Protection in the Ministry of Labor in Kenya, and we have the Department of Children's Services that is actually based. It's actually under that ministry, and it's called the Department of Children's Services, but it's under under Social Protection. That is it Ministry of Labor. So the mandate is basically to ensure that children are protected. We are used to the rights of children to education, rights to to other things, right to play and all that, but also the right to actually to be protected. It's one of the biggest rights, and I think the biggest problem that we've had in Kenya is that there has been no sufficient budget to ensure that children are properly protected from different forms of violence that children experience at home, at school, and other environments. That's why we usually hear cases of female genital mutilations, cases of violence against children at home, and assault and other things. So that is very, very crucial. It's a right of the child to live in a good environment. It's a right of the child to be protected from all forms of violence, from either at home, in school, or any other space that the child is. The other right that I will speak about is basically the right of a child to development. Development, basically just being able to grow in a holistic way. That's why we always ensure that when a child grows up, they are taken to school, early childhood development, so that we start building them. We start building them academically, they become better people. So that is a right of a child. Today, if you don't take your child to school, your child has actually a right to go to a court and sue you for refusing to take them to school. And the courts will actually listen to the child more than you as a parent, because actually, like today, according to, like in line with the Children's Act 2022, if a child, that's why children are actually allowed to go and testify against people. If there's a child who was there's a child who was called baby Sagini, the one who was
the eyes were gorgeous.
Yes. You see, that child, he testified in court, and you see his testimony actually played a critical role in the decision that was made. That tells you that there is a lot of weight that is given to a child's testimony than any other individual, because these are people who are innocent. Once they say something, they speak it out. It's we trust them because their minds have not been corrupted. They don't know how to lie. There are high chances whatever they will say, provided they saw something, it's actually true. So that's why even courts trust children, and children are actually given a bigger space for them to be able to express themselves, to be able to speak out whenever they are aggrieved. The other right that, I talked about 4 rights. There's the right to participation.
Okay.
That's where now we've had a lot of conversations about. So, right to participation, I talk to parents, but the perception is that, when you allow children to participate, you're actually inciting them. So, these laws are it's actually from the UN to the Africa Union, then to local. Children are entitled to participate in issues that affect them, be it at home, be it at school, be it, in any other space. And you will see this when you look at how children have been behaving recently. You realize that it's very important to encourage children to participate on issues affecting them, because the moment you do that, you give them some sense of belonging. It is very difficult for a child to break laws that they have come up with, or to even go against the decisions that they made themselves. And if they go against them, they'll be very sorry to you as a parent. Like, they'll be like, Mom, I did this, but I know it's, we agree that I shouldn't do it. Because, children, the way these people are actually wired, for them, they actually, how you bring them up from the onset is how they become. So the right to participation is a right that we've been fighting for. Personally, that is what I'm actually doing at my workplace. I lead child participation. And recently we had one of the biggest conferences that happened in Nairobi, the Africa Climate Summit, if you heard about it. So we actually been fighting the space for children to participate, and actually even making leaders understand that children have a right to participate on issues affecting them, on decisions, on policies.
Collins, it's the thought is that they are young. What do they, quote unquote, know? And I say that very loosely,
Yes.
but that's the mindset that, parents have,
Yes.
You're just barely 10, or you're barely...
Yes.
What do you know?
But also, let me take you back home.
Yeah.
Whenever you want to prepare a meal or something, do you consult your children? Or at home, like when you're young? Or even now, if you have children?
Yeah.
Do you consult them? Do you ask them, what do you want to eat?
Well, chances are not.
Many times, no.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so that's why sometimes, yes, there are instances where you will ask them, like, we've eaten this meal for a very long time. What do you want to eat today? Then they will tell you, Mommy, we want to eat rice, or Daddy, you want to eat this, we want to eat this.
Yeah.
So that tells you, like, what kind of dress would you like? Like, I've had these issues at home, because, when a child tells you,
I don't want
Daddy,
this.
I didn't want
This dress.
I don't want this dress.
Yeah.
It doesn't look nice.
And we force them. We tell
Yes.
them, you have to
And
wear.
before
I
them, you have
bought
to wear
it.
it, because I'm your mom, I'm your dad.
mom.
I bought it for you. So,
Oh, no.
what are you making? You see?
Right, yeah.
So, Collins, what you mean is that we owe our children explanation for whatever decision we take.
Not
Not
really.
really.
Just engaging them. Yes. At the end, you're the one who's going to make a decision. But you see, just engaging them gives them some sense of belonging. Like,
Right.
they feel like, I am part of this decision. So that when you ask them, what kind of dress would you want? If you go buy that dress and bring it home, they will feel it. They will wear it. They are happy. Like, Daddy has brought me the dress that I wanted.
Yeah.
But if you go and buy that dress and bring them, there are high chances they won't be happy.
Right.
And they will never want you to go and buy them a dress.
Yeah.
Yeah, watasema tu, baba akienda kununua nguo ataniletea ile nguo sipendi.
Yeah.
Acha niende na mom.
Right.
So the first impression will show them how unreliable you are
Right.
in terms of following the basic things that they want.
It affects your relationship with them.
It actually affects your relationship with them.
Right.
So it's not even like it's this thing. The perception is that this thing. I think the problem is perhaps it's because it has brought the aspect of other people campaigning for children to be had or for children to participate. However, it's something that happens even at home. It starts from home, like, like things like deciding the kind of food you want to eat, deciding the school you want your child to go. You might be in a surrounding where maybe you have, there are maybe 4 or 3 schools. But you see, it's, if you can't just decide and say, let me take you to that school, your child might be having some reservations about that school. But you see, if you force them, there are high chances that they won't feel happy, and their mind will not be in class, because
then affecting performance.
Yes, and it will affect performance.
Yeah.
So when that child comes home, they know that this is a school that my mom pushed me to go.
Right.
This is a school that my dad pushed me to go. I didn't want to come to this school. Maybe their friend is in another school, and perhaps that friend she has might they feel nice when they're together. But now if you split them, she will feel lonely in this other school. And you see, like, for them, the very basic reasons why I don't want to go to that school.
Right.
Very basic reason why I don't want to participate in this. Like, you may not understand, but I feel like children, sometimes their instincts are very right. Whenever they feel like, I don't want this, and you force them, there are high chances they will not engage in that activity.
All right. So this could go to an extent of even having, when a parent wants to switch locations, change residence.
Actually, that's very important. Because, for a child, before you change a residence, they're looking at, where am I going to play? Is there a playground? What kind of friends am I going to meet there? What kind of schools are within that surrounding? What kind of like basic things, So if you want to move, to change places, go ask them, by the way, mommy, we want to shift to this place. What do you think? They oh, mommy, I love that place because of this and this and this and this. But I don't like that place because of this and this and this and this, They might even not like that place because perhaps they have a friend in school who was living in that place. Then maybe they went through something. So for you as a parent, you may not know exactly why they don't want. So if you don't ask them, why, mbona hautaki kwenda huko? There are high chances that, you'll just go there, I'm the parent, I'm the boss, I'm the one who pays rent.
Yeah.
So they have nothing to say. So
Because it happens many a times.
Yes.
You just even don't consider, just tell them, we're going.
Yes.
Yeah.
We are going.
Yeah.
But, so I think, I'm not saying that, parents have to, children are the ones making decisions to move or to do something.
Yes.
But just consulting them.
So that they're in the picture.
Yes, so that they're in the picture. Gives them that sense of belonging. They feel like, I was part of this decision making. When they go there, they find, and they find maybe there's no playground. They will not blame you if they, if they chose that place and feel like, Daddy, we came here, but I didn't see a playground here. For them, they will feel, if they are the ones who advised you also to go there, they will not blame you that much. But if you made that decision, without consulting them, there are high chances that they'll blame you because you didn't make the right decision.
Right.
Yes.
And what's new, in terms of children's right? Because I've even seen someone writing a message here and saying, my question is, do we have rights over children? Because Sisi, we never had rights as children.
Yeah, so parents have responsibilities over children, and
Right.
even children have responsibilities over themselves. A child has, as much as we always say, as much as we advocate for the rights of the child, we also speak about the responsibility of a child. A child has a responsibility to go to school. They have
It's their responsibility.
Yes, it's their they have to, because yes, it's their right to get education, yes, but it's their responsibility also to make sure they go
To school.
They go to school. They don't have, the fact that they have a right. They cannot just behave the way they want at home.
Yeah.
You have a responsibility also to ensure that you put some discipline in your child because you're the parent. So it's not like we are saying. Like
they'll now run the home.
Now, yes, they run the home. No, I think that has been the perception. Like children are the ones running the home, but they are not running the home.
Right.
Children basically, they have a right and they have a responsibility. The same way we as Kenyan citizens, we have a right. We have our rights, But also, you're told, where your right stops is where another person's right begins.
Yeah.
So you do not overstep
on someone else's right
states.
because you have a right.
Yes, because you have a right.
Right.
So if you do that, then the law will catch up with you. So the same with children. They have a right, but they have a responsibility. At home, they have a right. But what I tell parents is, let's try to, because I learned something. These rights of children actually works if you allow children to play to some extent, to practice their rights. There are high chances these people will become very good people. One of the reasons as to why some of us grew the way we are, maybe in the village and all that, and that's a comparison that sometimes people make. That sisi tulilelewa and we didn't have all these things, and we are just okay. And someone else will argue, perhaps that's the reason why there's a lot of corruption in your country, or that could be the reason why there is a lot of no moral decay and all that. It makes sense because the fact that you grew that way doesn't justify now, like doesn't say now like
it's the right way to live.
It's the right way to live.
I get it.
But also there is now the advancement in technology, which is actually playing a very key role in parenting today.
All right. Would you just hold it for a moment?
Okay.
We'll go for a very quick break, but we'll be back. If you have a question or comment, kindly send it through to 0933-0717 400 555.
And across all our social media platforms at Hope FM Live.
There was no technology. Facebook came in, I think, in 2000 and around
four, five. Yeah.
Yes. Then we have TikTok, which came up in, I think, 2020. We have X around, So basically, access to information has become very easy, where a child can access information from anywhere. And so that one now, that one tells you that parenting has to be strengthened at home. If you don't strengthen parenting at home, there are high chances that this child will get other information in other spaces that will perhaps, misadvise them. And even when we talk about the rights of children, there are children who may even access this information online and say, and come home and tell you, Mom, I know my right, and you will not tell me anything. Because I've read somewhere that, I'm supposed to, you're not supposed to beat me. So, but if you are going to have this conversation with your children at home that, this is your right, but this is also your responsibility, then it becomes easy because it has come from you,
Right.
and they trust you. And if you allow them to go and access this information in other spaces, there are high chances that this information might work against you, because their trust now goes to the digital spaces, to TikTok, to Facebook, and all that, and basically makes you a bit vulnerable in your parenting.
So it's also good to help them understand their rights and also responsibilities at the same time.
Responsibilities at the same time.
All right.
And also let them know that, you are right, this is where your right stops. This is where your responsibility, what is your responsibility. This is, as your parent, I am the overall. Because that's why, for example, today, if I was to come with a child here, of course, you have your safeguarding policies on how children can be involved in different activities.
Yeah.
If a child has to fly outside the country, you as a parent or a guardian has to, the one who has to consent. So children are actually one of the most protected people across the globe. Like, in terms of everything, they are protected left, right, center.
All right.
So that tells you how much, we have a responsibility to ensure that we teach children also that, they are loved by their countries. They are protected by their countries. They are protected at home. They are loved at home. But they also have their responsibility.
All right.
Yes.
Now, talking about this issue of, child rights, there are policies and rights on paper. Now, how can key players come in now to make sure that the policies and the rights are in place? Now, talking about, the community, the school, parents, and the government as a whole, what can they do?
Thank you very much. I think that is one of the biggest problems we have, in our countries, where, we have international frameworks, international laws that actually we are actually members of. For example, we have the the UNCRC, the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child. Then we have the Africa, Convention on the Rights of the Child as well, which is we have a committee of experts on the rights of children that mostly listen to children issues or even come up with different advices on issues affecting children. Actually, in Africa, it's based in Lesotho, where our offices are based. So in case there are any issues related to countries which are member states of the Africa Union, these issues are reported there. So one of the things that I always say is a gap is the implementation, where we have all the laws. At the national level, there are enough laws. At the regional level, continental level, at the the global level, for example, we have the most recent law, the Children's Act 2022. Is very explicit. It's actually very strong on parental responsibility and also very strong on, actually, when in the Children's Act 2022, when it's speaking about parental responsibility, it's not talking about the parent only. It's talking about anybody who is responsible for a child in any space.
All right.
Have a bigger responsibility to protect that child and to ensure that child is safe, whether in school, whether in a church setting, whether you just a guardian, anybody responsible for a child has a bigger responsibility to play in the life of a child. So the bigger challenge that we have is, when it comes to implementing these policies, is actually, I think one of the things is budgeting, where, government prioritizes mostly issues to do with education, access to healthcare services and all that. Yeah. But also, they also forget the issues to do with protecting children, which is, in this case, in Kenya, it's domiciled under the Ministry of Labor. So you find that the bigger chunk of money goes to education and healthcare. But now there's also the issues of violence at home and all that is domiciled in a totally different department. And so it becomes very challenging, very difficult, even when children are violated at home or in any other space. It becomes difficult for them to find justice because of, one, you will hear that, the children officers in other constituency levels, at the sub-county levels, are not well equipped. They have no, finances to respond to emergencies around children. Some spaces even don't have rescue centers where children can be taken. I've been involved in campaigns in Korea against female genital mutilation, and you realize that the whole of Migori County and Korea being one of it, like it's December already. So you'll find that female genital mutilation has already started. The community practices of FGM a lot towards the border of Kenya, Tanzania. So you realize that these children that these children cannot run away from female genital mutilation, from undergoing the cut, because there's no space they can go to. And whenever even government does rescue, they take them to private spaces. So the government is actually the biggest responsible entity in terms of protecting children. However, there is a bit of laxity where priorities, are taken to other spaces, or, there's just mispriority where issues of protecting children, is not given that priority. The second thing is, responsibility at local levels, where, the responsibility we have, at home, we have a responsibility. Then from home, there are other bodies. The nearest place apart from home where a child can feel can report an issue, for example, is the village elder. Then we have the chief. Then we have you have schools. We have all those other spaces. So if those spaces are eroded, then there is no other space that a child can go. So it means that we need to strengthen our homes to ensure that children are living in safe spaces. We also need to strengthen our systems so that when a child is aggrieved at home, they are sure that they can go report to a chief
and
they get help.
Right.
If their child is maybe undergoing something at home and they have gone to school, they can still go to a teacher and report the issue, and it gets sorted. But if a teacher is also maybe a perpetrator of violence against children, then it becomes difficult for this child to go and report this issue, because they just feel like, if I go to the teacher, they will still not help me. If I go to home, they will still not help me. If I go to the chief and to the police, they won't help me. That child will feel very vulnerable, and that is, for me, that is my clerical call. Like, we need to strengthen our systems at home, because that is where parenting begins. Let's not even really blame government so much, because this is your child.
Right.
The government is only helping you to
take care of my child.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not their sole responsibility to do that. Yes.
Right.
They have a responsibility to ensure that, there's access to healthcare, there's access to education, it's actually access
Right.
to quality. But who is responsible to make sure that this child accesses, it's you at home.
Yes, yeah.
So that the bigger responsibility is on us as parents to ensure that, the space that children are working in, the space that children live in is a bigger, good space. And there are other studies that have actually shown that, the major perpetrators of violence against children are actually people who are close to them, where, maybe a father or a brother or anybody close to a child is a perpetrator, or perpetrating violence against a child. And in most cases, they cannot speak, because these are people who are playing a key role in their life. So wanajua, if they say this, so and so did this to them, there are high chances maybe they will be threatened. Yes. So if that space is safe, then a child feels safe.
Ensures safe spaces for our children.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Collins, for a lot of insight that you have given to us.
Right.
Thank
you very
it's
much.
very key for me. Communication,
Yeah.
fostering relationships with our children.
Yes.
That takes it home for me. And thank you. We appreciate your input.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming, and thank you for sharing all the information. Thank you for joining us for today's edition of the Breakfast Table. I believe that you have learnt a thing or two, and I pray that our relationships with our